Well, thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm pleased to rise today to respond to the motion from the member for London Fanshawe on our government's plan to raise the eligibility for the Old Age Security Program from 65 to 67 years of age. Mr. Speaker, we can't hand over our problems to the next generation and expect them to solve them. That is the irresponsible course of action that the opposition is arguing in favour of with this motion today. Sadly, this would not be out of place if it was a Liberal motion. In the mid-90s, then Finance Minister Paul Martin attempted to bring forward his plan to ensure the sustainability of the Old Age Security Program. Unfortunately, the Liberals lacked the principle to do the right thing at that time. I'm hopeful that they will see that the time is now to correct that inaction and to join with us in making these common sense and reasonable changes. Mr. Speaker, in 2010, annual OAS costs were $36 billion. If nothing is done in less than 20 years, the program costs will triple to $108 billion. In other words, from 13 cents of every federal tax dollar to 21 cents. That will be the jump in costs. But, Mr. Speaker, this is not an issue of how much money will be saved, but rather, will we make the choices now to ensure the very sustainability of the OAS program over the long term? This is what these changes are about. Making sure that the system will be there for future generations when they need it. The aging of our population is forcing us to confront a new reality. In 1970, the average man lived to be 69, and the average woman lived to be 76. Today, life expectancy is 79 for men and 83 for women. Now, that's good news, but it also means that without changes, Canadians will be collecting retirement and social benefits for a much longer time than they did when the OAS was first introduced, at a time when seniors will comprise an even larger proportion of Canadian society. The chief actuary forecasts that the number of OAS recipients will double from 2010 to 2030, from 4.8 million to 9.3 million. In the same time period, the ratio of working-age Canadians relative to the number of seniors is expected to fall. Right now, there are 4 working-age Canadians for every senior. In 2030, that number will shrink to 2 working-age Canadians to every senior. This is a critical ratio, Mr. Speaker, as OAS benefits are paid out of the taxes collected in a given year. Currently, there are 4 working-age Canadians to support every senior, and as I said, in 20 years, there will only be 2. So not only are program costs rising, but there will be fewer taxpayers available to pay for the social programs seniors will be relying on. These numbers are not new. The reality of an aging population has been known for quite some time. The result will be less financial room for other government priorities, such as the Canada Health Transfer, the Canada Social Transfer, public safety, and children's benefits. Could the member from London Fanshawe please tell us which of these programs she would cut? The Edmonton Journal's editorial board had this to say, and I quote, "We should thank the Prime Minister for having the courage to start the conversation. It would have been far easier to just pass the buck to his successors a few more years down the road," end quote. Unfortunately, that is exactly what the previous Liberal government did. They simply passed the buck. I think we can see the result of that. 5 out of 6 elections since the Liberals formed government, Canadian voters returned fewer and fewer Liberals to this place than were there before. This is also why Canadians decided to elect a strong, stable, national majority Conservative government They understood that under the leadership of our Prime Minister, Canadians would be guaranteed a principled government that will act to ensure the long-term prosperity of our great country. So let's be clear about one thing, Mr. Speaker. Our proposed changes do not affect current OAS or GIS recipients. These individuals will not lose 1 cent. We will gradually raise the age of eligibility for OAS from 65 to 67, starting on April 1st, 2023. Mr. Speaker, that's 11 years from now. And the change will be phased in gradually over a period of 6 years. We believe that this will prevent any undue hardship to Canadians. People who are close to retirement, that is people aged 54 and over as of March 31st of this year, will not be affected in any way by this policy change. I would also like to highlight 2 other changes to the OAS program that were announced in Budget 2012: proactive enrollment and voluntary deferral. Starting in 2013, we will begin the proactive enrollment of many seniors for their OAS benefits. This will largely eliminate the need for eligible seniors to apply for OAS benefits. It will also ensure that more seniors receive the benefits to which they are entitled. This measure will reduce the application burden on many seniors and reduce the government's administrative costs. On July 1st, 2013, our government will provide Canadians the choice to voluntarily defer their OAS pension. This will permit individuals to delay receiving their OAS pension by up to 5 years in exchange for an enhanced monthly pension for the rest of their life. This will provide increased choice to Canadians as to when they wish to retire, and will allow Canadians who do continue working to increase the size of their monthly benefit after they stop working. To be clear, though, the amount received by those that delay their OAS will be the same over the life of an individual as those that begin receiving their benefits as soon as they are eligible. We will also ensure that certain federal income support programs that currently end at age 65, including programs that are provided for our veterans and for low-income First Nation individuals on reserve, are aligned with changes to the OAS program. This will ensure that individuals receiving benefits from these programs do not face a gap in income at ages 65 and 66. We will also compensate the provinces for the net cost to their social programs caused by the increase in the age of eligibility. To be clear, these proposed changes will not affect the Canada Pension Plan, as the CPP and the OAS are 2 separate programs, and there is no reduction to seniors' benefits. The Chief Actuary has confirmed that the CPP is financially sound and fully sustainable for the long term. The changes proposed to the OAS program will secure the retirement benefits of future generations, making the program sustainable for the long term. The numbers tell us that we have to confront our fiscal and demographic realities to serve the best interests of all Canadians, both now and in the future. If we don't reform the OAS, there are only 2 other solutions: either to raise taxes or to divert funds from other programs and services. I don't think it will come as a surprise to members in this House that our government remains committed to our low tax plan for jobs and economic growth. That is why we are proposing these modest changes to ensure the OAS is put on a sustainable path so it is there when Canadians need it most. Mr. Speaker, Canada's prospects are bright. Among the G7 countries, Canada has posted the strongest growth in employment, with 693,000 jobs created since the depth of the recession. Thanks to the strong leadership of our Prime Minister and our Conservative government, Canada is in the enviable position of having the financial flexibility to phase in these changes of a lengthy period of time. Mr. Speaker, sadly we are witnessing more narrow-minded political games from the opposition. Their reckless approach would jeopardize the very sustainability of the OAS program and demonstrates a willful ignorance of the reality of our aging population. I urge the member and her party to listen to what she has said in the past and support our government by voting against this motion. Thank you.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie.
Monsieur le Président, et je remercie mon collègue pour son discours, même si j'ai des positions qui sont diamétralement opposées. J'aimerais lui poser une question parce que ça doit être formidable de vivre dans l'univers conservateur, parce qu'il n'y a pas de pauvreté. Il n'y a pas de travailleurs qui sont à modeste revenu. Et quand les conservateurs nous disent les changements vont être progressifs, puis les gens vont avoir le temps de mettre de l'argent de côté, j'ai une question à lui poser. Quel argent? Quand on gagne le salaire minimum, on gagne 25-30 000 $ par année, on ne peut pas mettre 2 000 $ de REER. On n'a pas tous des amis qui sont richissimes et qui sont capables de planifier leur retraite eux-mêmes. La vraie réalité des gens, c'est qu'ils ont de la misère à joindre les deux bouts. On a des travailleurs qui vont chercher des paniers d'aide alimentaire. Qu'est-ce qu'il dit à ces gens-là? C'est une attaque envers les plus démunis de notre société.
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank my colleague for the question. And, this government has done a tremendous amount for the lowest income people in this country, including our lowest income seniors, with the largest increase in the guaranteed income supplement in 25 years. So we take those issues very seriously, Mr. Speaker, and we act. The other bill that the member may want to support when it comes back is our new registered pooled pension plan, which is directly designed for the lowest income people to have a new flexible retirement pension plan tool that they can contribute to. It's flexible. If they work at Tim Hortons today and McDonald's tomorrow, it's portable. They can take that pension plan with them. We encourage all Canadians to take advantage of that great program when we establish it.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député de Saint-Laurent-Côte-Ville.
Yes, Mr. President, I want to thank my colleague to recognize that the Liberal government fixed the pension plan, but he must also admit that it fixed the OAS in a way that we don't need in Canada to increase the age at 67 as other countries are in the obligation to do, because they have not been as prudent as the Liberal government has been. And it's what the OECD said, the cost of government spending for pensions in Canada and seniors benefit is 4.5%, when the OECD average is 7.4%. And when it will be at its peak because of the aging population, it will be in Canada at 6.1%, still below the average of today. It's why the OECD conclude, and this is my question, there is no pressing financial or fiscal need to increase pension ages in the foreseeable future in Canada. Is he aware of this study by the OECD? And will he commit to read it if it is not?
It's grand theft.
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville.
Well, Mr. Speaker, thank the honourable member for the question. And, I followed actually quite closely with some humor over the years when the Liberals were in government around here, and how many issues they avoided and pushed to the back burner and ignored and sloughed off and never got the job done. Never got the job done. So what's happening? The Liberals totally ignore demographics. They totally ignore people are living longer. They totally ignore that the senior population is growing much more rapidly than any of the other population demographics in the country. They can ignore it. We're acting on it. They're living in la-la land. We're getting the job done.
Questions and comments? The honourable member for Selkirk-Interlake.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I want to thank the member from Mississauga-Streetsville for his great intervention today and laying out the mathematics and the reality of what's facing Canada in the next 30 years. We had 7 workers for every senior in 1975. Today we are with 4 working Canadians for every senior. By 2030 we're going to have 2 working Canadians for every senior. And these people are trying to say on the opposite side that the opposition is suggesting that that is going to be sustainable. I'm wondering, and if you'd agree with me, that the only way it's sustainable is if those 2 working Canadians for every senior is going to have to pay a lot more personal income tax to support seniors under the OAS system.
The honourable member for Mississauga-Streetsville, short answer, please.
Well, thank you very much for the question, Mr. Speaker. Here are the facts. We're addressing the reality. We're not ignoring the reality of where we are going. The fact that by 2030, there'll be only 2 working people paying taxes that in turn pays to support OAS for every 1 person collecting. I think, my 12-year-old daughter in grade 7 can figure the math out as well as anybody. So, let's be realistic here. We're acting in a prudent, responsible way. People my age and younger are being given ample notice about this gradual change that we will have, and I think we're acting in a fair and responsible way.